you worship leaders and church musicians. You know how as worship leaders we all kind of have our own resources and tools in our quiver that help us to take our ministry and our outreaches to the next level? And you just want to tell everybody about it because you're like, I can't believe more people aren't using this. For me, one of those biggies is using MultiTracks or MultiTracks, and I think there's two reasons why they're not used more often. One is that if you're not familiar with the term MultiTrack or MultiTrack, then it can sound like this kind of really high-techy niche kind of thing that's out of your league. And number two, it can sound like something that only big churches use and it's not for smaller churches. So I just wanted to take a minute to kind of share why I like using STEM and MultiTracks and how they benefit the worship ministry at my church. First off, if we haven't met before, my name is Shawn and I'm a worship leader and Christian recording artist based in South Florida. And secondly, let me just try to define real quickly what the heck MultiTracks and MultiTracks are. Okay, so MultiTracks and MultiTracks are synonymous. So you might see posts or videos about how to use MultiTracks or how to use MultiTracks. They're talking about the same thing. Essentially, they're just fancy accompaniment tracks. So you remember back in the day when we had to buy cassettes or CDs of accompaniment tracks, and they would have the demo version and then they would have the performance version without the voice, and maybe they would be in 3 different keys. Okay, same idea here. MultiTracks are a resource for providing background music, but the big difference here is the added flexibility that prevents the sound of canned music. Just like you needed a CD player or a cassette player to play your accompaniment tracks, to play MultiTracks, you'll need a piece of software on your computer or on your laptop or on your tablet. But what's really cool is with this software, not only can you change keys, but you can select different instruments to mute and then let other instruments play. Now, why would you want to do that? Well, let's say you play keyboard. Well, now you can play along with the track without the piano, just like you would sing along with the track without the vocal. And let's say you have a guitar player that plays along with you. Well, now you can mute both the piano and the guitar, and you're playing live, but you're using the MultiTracks to fill in the instruments you don't have. And this can keep on going. So if you have a small praise band, you can mute all the instruments that you have, but leave the ones you don't in, and it gives your band a more full sound while keeping the live sound and feel. And each instrument is on its own stem track, which is kind of like a soundboard, and so you can control the volume of each instrument with the faders. Another cool feature that helps keep the live feel is that you can repeat sections of a song or even skip around. Which means if your congregation is in the middle of a really powerful moment of worship and the song is about to end, you can keep going. Just repeat a chorus or a bridge or play a section with instruments only and have a time of prayer. Or maybe it's a really super up-tempo praise song and the energy's just getting going and you don't want the song to just stop. Well, now you can repeat the chorus as many times as you want, or you can even jump to a verse. Now, I don't want to overwhelm you with details here. I really just wanted to clear up what I think has been a misunderstood tool that is available to churches of all sizes. MultiTracks can really bring your time of praise and worship to life, and they're not too expensive or too fancy or too complicated for small churches. Real quick, I'll tell you about the MultiTrack service that I've used for over 5 years and why I like them so much. Many MultiTrack providers only offer song arrangements that are pretty much exactly like the original artist versions, which that's great if that's what you're looking for. But I'm sure you've all had the experience where you've got this great song, but it needs to be modified just a little bit to make it more congregational friendly, whether it be the length or the key or the arrangement. The provider I use is called Worship Backing Band, and they take things like arrangement and practical application into account when producing their tracks, which to me shows a good understanding on their part of the challenges that we face as worship leaders in selecting songs and music. Another example of what makes Worship Backing Band very unique is that they include both lead and background vocals, which most providers do not do. Now you might think, why do we even need the vocals if we're just going to mute them for the performance? But that's not necessarily the case because maybe you've only got 1 or 2 singers, or maybe you're not quite confident in your entrances. You can adjust the volume of the vocal stem track to subtly beef up the sound of the vocal mix. Or you can even route the vocal mix only into your monitors to give your singers more confidence. Plus, some songs just really call for that big multiple voice, big harmony, shout chorus kind of sound. And so if you just need some extra voices in the mix, you can mute the lead vocal and adjust the volume of the background vocals. There are tons of additional features too, like creating set lists, transition pads, click tracks and cues. And Worship Backing Band provides great training instructional videos for free on how to use their software and player. So I don't want to get into the nuts and bolts here about how to actually use the application. I just simply wanted to talk about what sometimes is misunderstood as something that can't be used for your church or worship team when MultiTracks could end up being a great resource for you. Lastly, and just full disclosure here, I like worship backing bands so much that I reached out to them last fall and offered my services as a recording studio to produce tracks for them, and I've been blessed by the opportunity to work with them. However, I do not make any money from sales of their tracks or their products or their software. This is not a paid endorsement. They just pay me for my time as a recording studio, just like any other client of mine. It's just that I've been in conversations with other worship leaders before about using MultiTracks, and I've heard their confusion about how to use them and what they're for. So I just wanted to make this video real quick just to explain what stem tracks and multi-tracks are, and then of course include how I personally use them, which means sharing my recommendation of worship backing band. The other quick thing I'll say about them is that they don't trick you with hidden subscriptions that you don't know about until you're already invested, and they are truly providing a service that they want to use to glorify God. They're part of a larger organization called Music Academy, which offers lessons and training for church musicians and even some sound and tech training if you're interested in that. So quick wrap up. MultiTracks and stem tracks are just super cool accompaniment tracks that you can use with your worship team in lots of different ways to enhance the sound of your music and bring even more excellence to the worship experience for your church. They're very reasonably priced, and they can be used with the simplest tech setup to the most complicated. So if you've heard these terms, stem tracks and multi-tracks before, and you just didn't know what they were talking about, I hope this video helps simplify things a little more for you. And listen, please feel free to reach out to me to chat some more about this, and I'll leave some information and some links in the post that goes with this video as well. God bless, and much continued success to you in your ministry.